So Risa asked me to come based on some of the things I had been posting on Facebook, and I had been here a few years ago, I think way before COVID, and I'm going to share a little bit about my story and some wisdom, hopefully that will at least touch someone's heart. I always intend that at least one person in the space that I'm in gets something out of whatever I have to say. So many of you, probably most of you, probably all of you are aware that you're gifted. And often we think about these gifts, these intuitive gifts, both as a blessing and a curse. Because as a blessing, we get information, and as a curse, maybe we don't want that information. Right? Maybe it comes to us in a way that we're not expecting it. Some of these gifts for a lot of you might have been recognized when you were really young. And maybe you had people around you who helped you work with those gifts and create whatever it is you needed to understand, to know, to use those gifts. Others may have had them buried because people were, wow, you don't have an imaginary friend, that's not true, you're not seeing that, you're not hearing that, you're not feeling it, it's all in your imagination. Here's some drugs to make that go away, right? You know, a lot of it is people misunderstanding, a lot of it is fear. Fear of the unknown and of, you know, of understanding that, yes, there is something else out there besides our physical nature. But, you know, or maybe it was just due to a lack of desire. Maybe, you know, you didn't want to know, you didn't want to see. It was just something that was not something that you wanted. And for some people, the gifts might have come as a result of a traumatic experience. Right? Maybe something happened and all of a sudden the light turned on and someone was home that time. And for others, maybe it was just an awakening, an outburst, something that just, again, just happened because Spirit knew you were ready for it to happen. I don't really know, you know, when my journey began. It's been a process over many years. It probably began a long, long time ago when I didn't know it. And I guess, you know, it doesn't really matter when it began or when it will end. What's significant really are the people that I've met along the way, the lessons that I've learned from both the challenges and the opportunities along the way, and then the ability to keep the lessons and set the stories aside. Don't hang on those stories, but keep those lessons and use them. And so what I've found is that what I've been able to do over the past few years is accept, or maybe first acknowledge that those gifts exist, accept those gifts, and use them in a way that's helpful for others. I always say, you know, this is something that is healing for all and harm of none. Right? It's for the highest good of all. And all is who we're all connected, right? So do unto others, beautiful, because whenever we do something, we automatically do unto others as we do to ourselves. So it's just part of who we are. And the other thing that opened up for me over the past few years is the ability to recognize that everyone has gifts. And not all of them are the same, and they shouldn't be the same. They shouldn't be the same, because we're each here for a specific purpose. Our soul knows why it's here in this lifetime, if you believe that we've been here many lifetimes. Growing up Catholic, I really never thought of myself as a religious person, and I often didn't agree with a lot of the rules and regulations and things that came along with that. So I kind of like stuffed that part of myself aside, and I never really thought about spirituality in the way that I think of it now. I was brought up, again, that religion was spirituality, and it's really not the same thing, and I'm sure that most of you probably feel that way as well. About 18 years ago or so, I took my first Reiki class. I didn't know what a chakra was. I didn't know what any of that was. I had no idea what I was getting into. But it opened up a new avenue for me. And originally I just kind of used it here and there and went on my merry way of filling my life with all kinds of things to, I think now, reflecting on it, to block out the information I was getting and the connections that were happening. I knew that when I was doing a Reiki session that there were angels and guides present. I knew that. I could feel that. I could sense that. But I pushed it aside. With some people that I felt comfortable with, I would tell them, you know, your mother was here or someone was here. But with others, I would just, better not say that. They're going to think I'm nuts. They're going to push me. They're going to come with the men in the white coats soon and move me along. But I kind of kept going with it. And I mean, the more that I did it, the more I sensed that there was a knowing, just a knowing. I was knowing things that I didn't know that I knew. Did that make sense? Yeah, I think that came out okay. And there was an emotional sensing that I could feel other people's emotions. And I didn't know, why am I crying? What's going on? I'm not sad. And then I finally figured out, oh, I'm feeling someone else's. So I started to, you know, look things up, and I did a lot of my own learning. Oh, I must be an empath, huh? And then I had physical sensations. So I would be working on someone and have a feeling in my shoulder and go over to their shoulder. Oh yeah, there's something over there. So I was starting to realize that, yeah, okay, these gifts are coming to me. They're coming faster, and they're coming, you know, more often. I better start to pay attention to this. So I started to learn more. I started to continue my Reiki training, doing shamanic Reiki training and other things along the way, angel guide, and the more I learned, the more I felt I needed to teach. So as I learned, I taught, and you teach what you need to learn, basically. So I learned on my own, and then came COVID, and I'm stuck home, right? And what am I going to do? I'm not with people. How can I help them? What can I do? So I had been doing a monthly meditation and all. How are we going to do this? Well, we got Zoom. So we started doing that, and that has become a weekly event, that and Reiki healing circles. And I found that initially I would write everything out and read it. And slowly the writing stopped. Whoops, there we go. Who's coming in here? The writing stopped, and I started just doing things intuitively closing my eyes, and I would have a topic and we'd go wherever we went. So a lot of it came to trusting that what's coming to is coming to as for a reason. And there would be people afterwards. I'd say, okay, what, you know, anybody want to talk about that? Anything that, and you were at wherever I was going, you were there. Right before I got there, you would say it and I would be there. Like, okay. So I would tap into someone, and again, this is virtually. Someone is in Pennsylvania, and I'm tapping into feelings and sensations. Like, okay, this is bigger than me. Whatever I'm feeling is bigger than me. Then in, let's see, when was it? December of 21, I retired. And I thought, okay, now I have time to be. I took the mindfulness-based stress reduction course, and then all of a sudden, I started to draw. I'm not the artist, my sister's the artist, my sister's the... I started to draw, and I started to write words that would just come. Sometimes they would come based on a situation that a friend or family member might have been in. They would say, I'm feeling this, and I'd start to write, and here comes a message, whatever they needed to know or hear. Sometimes I would be out in nature and I would take photos, and I'd go back and look at those photos, and information would come. Or someone would send me a photo and say, what do you see in this? And I would just write, things would just start to come. And I trusted it. I trusted what was coming, which I think is difficult for a lot of people, to trust that whatever is coming. Trust what's coming. The other thing that I learned was nothing happens overnight. Right? Roses don't bloom overnight. Things come to us, things go. There are times in our lives when all of that we're getting all of a sudden stops. And I took a trip to Japan this year. That was supposed to be 2022, but it got delayed to 23 because of COVID. I was on Mount Karama, one of the most sacred mountains in the country, where the Reiki lineage that I've learned was birthed there. It was a very beautiful journey up this mountain with roots that were bigger than my arms, going all over. They call them mothering roots. an area that they believe was originally inhabited by Shinto monks, then Buddhist monks, so a very, very spiritual area. And spent a week there, beautiful. Last day there in Kyoto, fell and fractured my hip. 4 weeks later, total hip replacement, 4 weeks later during the healing process, I fell again and broke it again, down for 12 weeks. So, okay, thanks universe. Messages, stop, slow down, take some time. Okay, so this is the time for me to take all this stuff I've been writing and create my book. And all of a sudden, nothing else came. I had a few drawings I did, a few messages that came through, most of them having to do with my own healing process, not for, well, maybe a few for others. But that was be still, rest, and it's not time to think. It's not time for that mind to be doing what you want it to do. And so, you know, often it wasn't just time to rest the physical body. It was time to rest the busy mind, right? And time just to be. I mean, there were times when there were a lot of people around helping, and then there were times when that slowed down and I had the time to, when I could finally go out on my back deck and be in nature again, to just be. And that was really hard to do. Because anybody who knows me, I have a lot of trouble just being. I tell other people to do that, but I don't always practice what I preach. So part of I've been reflecting the past few weeks as well, as I'm back to writing the book again, because I know that needs to get done. But I was watching John Kabat-Zinn's video about the attitudes of mindfulness, and he mentioned in there, and I have to fact check this because I'm not sure this is true, but he said in Asian languages the word for mind and heart is the same. They use the same word for mind and heart. And I started to think about that and think about that concept, and that if you really want to know what's in your heart, right? Because our soul, I feel our soul is in the cave of our heart, and our soul knows what we are here to do. And if we really want to know that, our mind has to be open and willing to hear that, to listen to that, to see that, to know that, to sense, to feel whatever the gift is. And until we can open and do that, we can't really see what's in the heart. And the other part of it is gratitude. Gratitude for those gifts, and just being thankful that we've been given those gifts. Because we've been given those gifts by some infinitely intelligent being that created all of us and created the world that we're in. And we've been given those gifts for a reason. And we connect with specific people in our lives for a reason as well. Because our gifts are either meant to be shared with them, or our gifts used together can work synergistically together to create change in the world around us. And right now we're in a crazy world. So that's all that I have to say about that. I would like to do a guided meditation, if that's okay.